What is up? Surprised and probably saddened that I'm back so soon. Well, I had to put out another video because, I've changed my mind about orange juice. And I want to tell you why. You see, as I mentioned in my last video, I've recently moved to Vietnam. I wasn't intending to change my mind about orange juice. It wasn't even on my radar, but I guess I found myself accidentally moving in the orange juice direction due to not seeing very much orange around here. Agents aside, and I can't believe I just made that joke, Vietnam has a lush jungle environment with hundreds of shades of green. But all this green, this terrible, unrelenting green, has pushed me away from green. While moving away from enjoying green, it occurred to me that I don't see enough orange. Due to not seeing enough orange, I found myself ordering orange juice on the daily. Hopefully you aren't too interested in my daily beverage consumption. I just wanted to make sure that I told everyone why I've decided to start drinking orange juice. Now, I can have whatever ridiculous reasons I want to start drinking more orange juice. The question though is this: are my reasons reasonable? JP Sears has become a celebrity figure to many. His satirical videos and takes on topics such as masking and transgender people have shot him to internet fame in a very short time. Some would describe him as logical, rational, and hilarious. Others as cruel, heartless, and potentially evil. Personally, I find both ideas highly uninteresting. It probably won't come as a surprise, however, that as he has recently made a video talking about a change in belief he has made, where he suggests that he has given the reasons for this change, has piqued my interest. Let's take a look at the change JP has made, and as usual, more importantly, the reasons why he has come to this new belief.
And also, quick disclaimer, this video is not intended to be a comedy video.
As JP's content is largely satirical, I want to fully admit that he could still be joking here, despite him claiming the opposite, satire being what it is. So being fully aware that I may be walking into an obvious trap, let's forge ahead anyway. Rather like being barefoot with 1,000 pieces of Lego on the kitchen floor, but being compelled by the call of cool cans of beer from the fridge on the other side of the colorful plastic hell.
It's like frowned upon to change your mind. Well, what if we learn to frown upon never changing our mind and give ourselves impeccable permission to change our minds? Because if you never change your mind, guess what? You're not growing, you're not learning, you are what's called staying stuck in the same beliefs and practices that you adopted a long time ago, and they might be well expired, kind of like meat in your refrigerator you bought 7 years ago. Yeah, you bought it 7 years ago, but it might be rotten. It might be time to throw it out and replace it with something new. So personally, I'm someone who encourages people to change their mind. I think I just like to model that for you. Not that I'm picture perfect model for it, but I'm clumsy, stumbling my way along. And I think it's great to change our mind when we have a good reason to change our mind.
JP is right here. Modeling the process of changing our minds is probably a worthwhile endeavor. It seems that in this day and age of tribalism and division, of ignorance and bigotry, that modeling being open to changing our minds, as well as what this process should look like, may indeed have some value. Then again, if it is done poorly, expect to see some YouTube dude, perhaps in a wrestler's mask, call out your trash. I have said in another video that there is a subjective part of critical thinking, and that is the justification part. Is the evidence I have for my claim sufficient to justify that claim? Let's take the example of my mask. The claim is that I am horribly disfigured. The mask keeps the millions of viewers to my channel, delusions, from vomiting while watching my videos. This claim could be true or false. Perhaps I am disfigured, or perhaps I am not. In order to make this a justified claim, we would need some reasons, some evidence which supports this claim. Let's say the only evidence we have is that I am wearing a mask. Well, there are lots of reasons I may be wearing a mask. Perhaps there are some philosophical reasons. Perhaps I'm a well-known celebrity. Perhaps I'm shy, or perhaps I am indeed disfigured and my mom makes me wear it so the dog will play with me. There are many reasons I may wear a mask. I would say the simple fact that I have a mask on is not sufficient to reasonably conclude that it is because I'm disfigured. Let's add to our evidence then. I am hopelessly single. Lonely. I'm so lonely. I have nobody to Okay, sorry. The fact that I am single may be due to some disfigurement. Having 3 eyes, 2 noses, and 25 chins may make it difficult to attract a partner. Do we have enough evidence to be reasonably justified in our claim now? Perhaps some would say yes, perhaps not. Adding more evidence then. I've been in multiple motorcycle accidents, in one of which I was not wearing a helmet. Certainly I could have sustained injuries to my face during one of those accidents. So are we justified now in believing that I am disfigured or not? As we add evidence on top of evidence, some will begin to believe the claim, and some will not. Some will want to see the disfigurement, and some will be satisfied with the evidence they have. This is what I see as the subjective nature of critical thinking. Has the bar to believe been passed? Some seem to have a rather low bar, and others seem to use a relatively high bar. But a larger problem is that some seem to have a low bar in some areas and a high bar in others. But this is not about my mask wearing. This is about JP's change in beliefs. So let's see what's going on with this guy.
But first, what changed me? What happened? What I see that changed my mind? Well, one observation I've had over the past 3 years, especially, was hashtag pandemic. Over the past 3 years, I've found myself accidentally getting more Christian. Like without even intentionally trying, like setting out on a mission, like, hey, I want to become more Christian. It's just been effortlessly happening for me. Now, I don't think I'm unique there because I've seen a lot of people and I've heard a lot of people telling me similar stories. So I asked the question, why are people getting more Christian without even trying? Here's what I believe to be true about that. The presence of evil and Satan that evil emanates from has never been more obvious, at least in my lifetime. The past 3 years, evil isn't hiding anymore. It's coming at us through authoritarianism, movements, people, groups, companies, governments, trying to invade our minds, invade our God-given free will. So as that's become more obvious, I think there's a natural polarity that happens. If you're not someone who's willing to do the devil's bidding, if you're not someone who's willing to propagate evil, then there's a natural occurrence that happens when you're in the presence of evil, you polarize to the other extreme. Like you may not even be consciously aware of it, but the presence of evil makes you lean away.
As far as I can tell from that, you now believe in a Christian God, or at least are moving in that direction. Honestly, the claim itself isn't that important. What is important are the reasons for the belief. Is it justified or not? JP sees evil. Evil comes from the devil. He is pushed away from this devilish evil because he is a good person, and therefore is pushed towards the good, which is the Christian God. Let's be perfectly clear. JP, you, me, and the $100 independent freelance contractor that works on the closest corner to my apartment each get to believe whatever we like. We are unbound in our abilities to believe things. Whether JP thinks the devil exists, if you think that JP is the devil, if I think that comparing a supposed all-powerful creator, God, to liquid that comes from a cow's teat is a wise move, or if the contractor believes it acceptable to charge extra for latex, everyone is entitled to believe whatever they like. This is why I don't often take sides in my videos. I'm largely uninterested in what people believe. I'm much more interested in why they believe it. If they believe it for good reasons, then I want to believe it too. So, does JP have good, rational reasons? Is he justified in this belief?
Then, therefore, what direction are you leaning towards? That would be the direction of God. Certainly the opposite of evil, the opposite of Satan.
Let's start with evil. That seems as good a place as any to start. Evil can be defined as profoundly immoral and wicked. Despite probably agreeing on some things as falling into this category of being profoundly immoral and wicked, things like rape, murder, genocide, and high-heeled Crocs, I would bet a great many of us would disagree on what is or isn't immoral and wicked. Some see abortion as evil. Others see controlling women's bodies as evil. Some think forcing people to wear COVID masks is evil. Others think not protecting our fellow humans is evil. The list goes on and on. The point is simply that although we may have areas of agreement, what we see as evil is very dependent on our morality, which people all over the world often disagree upon. Moving on to Satan, the figure of evil that JP points to, is also a problem. JP seems to assume the existence of Satan due to seeing the evil he reports. I would be remiss to not point out that if one believes in the Christian Satan, then one believes in Christianity. Therefore, it rather seems that either he already believed in Christianity, or we should want some evidence that this evil JP is reporting is in fact caused by his understanding of Satan. He skipped this step, and without this step, his argument is circular, which is known, despite its very common misuse, as begging the question. But further, perhaps JP is unaware of other religions which also have an evil figure. The Hebrew word Satan, with a lowercase s, means adversary, and is meant as a description, not a person. One who tempts people away from God, although working for God. The job is to separate true believers from others. Muslims have Iblis, a member of the Shaitan. The Raelians have a Satan who they believe is one of the Elohim, which is an alien race. Mormons also believe in the devil. Even Greek mythology has demons, and I'm sorry for the poor pronunciation. All of this for a simple question. JP, how did you determine that the boogeyman in Christianity was the cause of this evil and not some scary beast from Mormonism or Islam or any other religion that has a figure which does evil? But before that, how did you even conclude that there is indeed an agent who is causing this evil in the first place? Just because I stubbed my toe on a discarded mammary gland from Kayla Lemieux doesn't mean there is a big breast beast out to get me, despite the potential of me enjoying that scenario. And now, from our sponsor, it's Men X Wood. Yes, Men X Wood, Viagra for your hair. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
And also specifically, we could say, hey, there is an attempt to bring communism all over the world, certainly in the United States. We don't call it that, but it is that. Anytime someone tries to control you in a way that's not in your best interest, that's what I call evil. So for the force of evil that is communism, God gives us free will. That's our expression of freedom. That's God's way. Communists don't like that. Globalists don't like that. And specifically, we see the coercion to disconnect people from God playing out in all kinds of propaganda. The gender ideology propaganda, where they're attempting to get people to believe that God made mistakes. And get this, right now, I think we're at a time of spiritual warfare. We look at what's going on in the world, conflict between different nations, division all over the place. We want to teach this to your kids. It's like, you seem kind of satanic. Well, that's because I think they are. So even though we see these literal things playing out at the physical level, I think what we're seeing is symptoms of what's happening at more of a metaphysical level. I think right now, Satan and God are at war. In a time of spiritual warfare, what's on the line is you and I, our souls, our children. But when we look at the evil authoritarians, people I judge to be evil at least, the Klaus Schwabs, the George Soroses, Bill Gates, Biden, Trudeau, it's not that I'm keeping track of who they are, but that's who I think they are.
Okay, wow. So there are things you don't like in this world. There are many things I don't like as well. I might even go so far as to call some of them evil, but how are you able to come to the conclusion that they are caused by Satan? When my waiter puts olives on my pizza, Satan? When the cops ask me for a bribe, Satan. When the leader I didn't vote for gets into power, Satan? When a country invades another country, is that Satan? When America invades another country, Satan. JP, there are three possibilities here. Number one, all of the things we see as bad in the world are caused by Satan. Two, none of the things we see as bad in the world are caused by Satan. Or three, some of the things that are bad in the world are caused by Satan. If all bad things are caused by Satan, then what about the things you think are evil, which others do not? Or vice versa? JP, you mentioned communism. Repeatedly. You seem to have a very strong opinion that it is evil and caused by the devil. Dude, I live in Vietnam. Do you honestly think that the people of Vietnam agree with you? Do Vietnamese think that communism is evil and caused by Satan? They are not killing each other in record numbers, and they generally seem like hard-working people who just want what is best for Vietnam and their own families. You know, like most good people in the world. I'm not saying you're wrong, nor that the Vietnamese people are wrong. I'm saying you have a lot of work ahead of you. If none of the evil things we see are caused by Satan, then your argument is a non-starter. If some of the evil things we see are caused by Satan, then what metric are you using to differentiate the two? But there exists a much larger problem. JP, pink things are caused by unicorns. Sure, we could take a look at each individual pink thing and try to trace its cause to unicorns, but perhaps we should start by showing that unicorns are in fact real. You are assuming they are. Why have you made this assumption, and is it justified?
When you have faith in God, you are not controllable. You're not. The fear-mongering, the fear of death that ultimately all fear-mongering points to, like, hey, the climate's changing, the climate's gonna kill you. Hey, look at this disease, look at the death toll on the bottom of CNN. All that fear-mongering really preys on the fear of death that people have. But here's the deal. When you believe in God, you also therefore believe in the afterlife. You believe in heaven. So you don't really fear death the way you fear death if you believe there is no God. Why? Because you're like, well, okay, if I die, which I don't want to, but if I do, okay, I'm in heaven. That's actually beautiful. So the brave, bold freedom statement of it's better to die on your feet than live on your knees becomes something that people of faith will live by. That's why communists, globalists, anyone who wants to control you purposely tries to disconnect you from God, because God's way is freedom.
Some hefty claims there as well, JP. Perhaps a good time to look at how beliefs are not benign things. When you have faith in God, you are uncontrollable. Except, well, I would expect you would follow the rules and commandments laid out in the Bible, no? Are you not then controlled by your book? Or you don't follow the book? In which case, what is your religion again? When you follow a religion or an ideology, you are being controlled, to some degree, by that religion or ideology. The ideas expressed become part of indoctrination. As soon as you start cherry-picking the parts that you follow and those that you don't, you start to leave that ideology, and yes, you start becoming more free. Which parts of Christianity are you not following, JP? Which parts are wrong? Own slaves? Eat shellfish? Stone unruly children? You also mentioned that you believe in God, you believe in the afterlife, and therefore don't fear death. Aside from the fact that not all religions have a heaven idea, not being bothered about the possibility of death may very well cause problems in your life, and more importantly, the lives of others. For starters, why wear seatbelts, helmets, or get vaccines? Maybe a touchy one. Get the measles vaccine. Why worry about climate change? Damn, another touchy one. Why worry about abortion? Must open mouth farther. Surely more foot will go in. Why should we protect ourselves or those around us if there's this wonderful place we all go to after we die? Or some of us. Perhaps it is better to take care of the things we can while we are here, in this one place we know we have, in this one time we know we can. Let's try our best right now. God's way is freedom. Maybe. Or maybe it's slavery, evil, death, and missed chances. I really don't know. How is it that you seem to? JP may indeed be a reasonable guy in some areas. Simple question. Is he being rational in this area, on this topic, with this claim? Should we believe in the Christian God based solely on what he has said? Is it rational for him to believe in the Christian God based solely on what he said? Just because you see what you think is evil does not mean it is evil. Just because you think evil comes from the devil doesn't mean it does. Because a story told you that God and the devil are in opposition doesn't mean they are. Christianity has not been shown true by your weak-ass cyclical argument. I, myself, am an agnostic atheist. That may mean different things to different people. Let me then tell you what I mean. Agnostic, meaning that I do not claim knowledge on the subject. Simply, I don't know for sure either way. Atheist, meaning that I, at present, reject the claim theists are making. Rejecting a claim does not mean you accept the opposite. Just because you may reject the claim that I am horribly disfigured doesn't mean that you believe I'm the most handsome man in the world, which, of course, is true. 'Cause my mama tells me so. In the same way, rejecting theist claims that there is a God doesn't mean I believe there is no God. Instead, I'm waiting for justification. I'm waiting for enough evidence to reasonably conclude one way or another. But I've yet to see sufficient evidence for either claim. It is really that simple. Either I am horribly disfigured, or I am not horribly disfigured. There are only two cases in reality. Similarly, there is a God, or there isn't a God. What we believe, however, is different. You may believe me to be horribly disfigured, or you may believe me to be devilishly handsome, or you could take a rational approach and say there simply isn't enough evidence to come to a reasonable conclusion. In reality, there are only two options. But in terms of what we believe, there are, in fact, three. This isn't new, and it isn't even special. It is, however, the single largest problem we see in the world around us. People don't know, or perhaps don't care, how to come to rational beliefs. Any topic you like, literally any topic. There are people on one far end of the spectrum and people on the other end. At absolute best, only one of these groups is correct. At worst, they're both wrong. I maintain that there isn't much point in arguing about the best way to use a shoehorn to put on a condom so long as we don't have a soldier standing at attention. That there is no point in arguing about which number is correct when we don't understand math. Similarly, what is the point in arguing about any of these topics when we don't understand how to be rational? JP might be right, or he might be wrong. Has he convinced you? Should his reasons have convinced him? We are, or at least have the ability to be very rational in some areas of our lives. But what are we to do when we are being irrational? How could we know? Who will point it out to us when far too few people understand what this even means? We're stuck, believing our own garbage, me certainly included, and not being able to separate truth from fiction. Take a good look around. If you disagree with others, and know that some others disagree with you, what the hell do you think is happening? And more importantly, how is it that you have become immune to the irrationality that JP has just shown us?